So, Sarah, I was talking about you earlier today because I was at a luncheon, and some people who covered your work here in Georgia when you were a high school student were there, journalists. Um, so tell us a little about you and how you came to be at Prager Law this summer.
Yeah. So basically, I guess what the high school work is, I was state director for March for Our Lives in Georgia, which is a youth-led national gun violence prevention organization. And actually, gun violence prevention is kind of what led me down the road of being interested in tech and tech policy because I was really captivated by the issue of ghost guns and still am. And so that's kind of what sent me down the path of realizing that legal regulation of all of this is something that's so pressing and so interesting to me. Because ghost guns are a really unique situation. Um, and with all of the news over AI recently, in the last year or so, I've seen it affect my life as a college student, as my professors try and figure out how to adjust to ChatGPT and generative artificial intelligence software being so widely available. And I don't know, I just have been so fascinated by it. And so, I was pretty lucky to fall into a conversation with you, Nancy, when I was talking to you about your work, and here I was. Um,
Well, the timing was really fortunate because Caroline had been talking about AI, generative AI, because I think we have to distinguish between generative and just the kind that finishes my sentences when I'm typing predictive text.
Right.
And my concern at the beginning was it's such a big topic, and just asked you to sit in on a continuing legal education about pending legislation in the European Union on generative and other AI. It's very broad. What was it like sitting in listening to attorneys and practitioners talking about this pending legislation in a sort of vacuum?
Yeah, I mean, I found it super interesting because I hadn't heard much of any kind of legal perspective on the issue. I think, the talk focused really largely on the EU AI Act that is pending, upcoming. And so I didn't know much about that act and I found out a lot, but I think one of the things that stuck with me most from that call actually was one of the attorneys who was leading the call was talking about how he uses generative AI to write his first drafts of his briefs. And that was something that I thought was pretty crazy because especially as a student at UVA, we have a very strong honor code kind of system. And so, I'm terrified to like even open ChatGPT on my computer because I stay so far away from it, and to see that it's being used in daily practice of lawyers, for one thing, is pretty crazy to me.